Stretch your hand out just a little. Focus on your palm. Don't try to imagine anything, just feel. You'll notice a warmth building, a pulse that wasn't there before. Now move your focus 2 inches above your skin. That heat follows you. That is energy, and you just moved it. You didn't need incense. You didn't need belief. You didn't even need to try. The force is already there. This manual, hidden for decades, was written for one purpose: to teach you how to command that invisible power. And if you're still listening, then part of you already knows you've been doing it your whole life. Let's finally make it conscious. And if you're still listening, then part of you already knows you've been doing it your whole life. Let's finally make it conscious. The word occult doesn't mean what they told you it does. It was never about darkness. It was never about danger. It means hidden, that's all. From the Latin occultus, to conceal, to keep just out of sight, like the stars during the day, like a whisper beneath a crowded room. It's not evil, it's quiet. The forces we're about to speak of, they've never stopped moving, but they are subtle, like wind through hair, or the way you can feel someone watching you from across the room. That is occultism. Not fantasy, not superstition, but the science of what hums just beneath what we're taught to see. A study of the currents that don't speak in words, but in feelings, symbols, colors, and shifts of mood. Sepharial understood this, not in theory, but in practice. To him, and to those who still carry this thread, occultism wasn't a belief system. It was a map, not to gods in the sky, but to the fields of energy that wrap themselves around all things. This is a symbolic science, a language built not from alphabets, but from sensation and knowing, a way to trace the echo before the sound. Maybe you've already noticed it, not in books, but in moments. That time you felt a room tighten before anything was said, or when a symbol, just a shape or a number, pulled something ancient from the center of your chest. Maybe you didn't know why it moved you, you just knew it did. That knowing wasn't random. It wasn't imagination. It was the soul recognizing something it once knew. Occultism is the practice of reading reality at that level. It is the skill of noticing the pattern underneath the pattern, like sensing the warmth of a fire you can't see, but you know is near. You feel its edge in your bones. And that's all this ever was. A way of seeing what was always there. A way of naming the invisible. The visible world, the one we've been trained to trust, is only the top layer. Beneath it, there's a system, not like a computer, not rigid, alive. Imagine the universe not as a machine, but as a living tapestry. Every thread woven with intention, every knot a secret waiting to be understood. Some threads vibrate with number, others shimmer with sound or geometry. Some speak through dreams, some through wounds, but all of them mean something. This is the terrain the occultist learns to walk, not by collecting facts, but by remembering how to feel truth. It's not logic, it's alignment, a resonance between your inner world and the structure of the outer one. And maybe you've always been this way, the one who sensed something behind the words people spoke, the one who noticed the way the sky shifted before a big moment in your life, the one who dreamed of places you've never seen but somehow remembered. That feeling, that flicker, it was the seeker waking up inside you, the one who came here not to believe but to remember. Because this isn't about learning something new, it's about touching something ancient that has always been alive inside you. There are no credentials required here, no robes, no rituals, unless they speak to something real in you. All that's needed is a willingness to trust the part of yourself that always knew there was more, not better, just more. A layer beneath the layer, a silence beneath the noise. That's where this knowledge lives, not locked away, just waiting. And we weren't the first to reach for it. There have always been those who saw the shimmer behind the world, quiet hands that held the flame while the rest of the world forgot. They walked in temples, yes, but also in forests, deserts, libraries, gardens. They listened to what others ignored, the pulse behind numbers, the shape behind stories, the rhythm of stars. Their names changed with time, but the current they followed was always the same. In the old lands of Egypt and Greece, there was a voice called Hermes Trismegistus. Not a man, exactly, more a lineage, a wisdom, current, given a name. He spoke of mirrors, how the sky was not just above, but within, as above, so below. A sentence that sounds simple until you feel it. When you do, it unlocks something in you. The truth that everything out there is tied to everything in here. That the movement of planets is not separate from your breath. That when the moon pulls the tides, it also pulls the tide of your feelings. That you, too, are made of orbits. Plato heard the echo of this. He didn't look for truth in the world's surface. He looked inward toward forms, not the outer shape of things, but the inner essence, the light behind the shadow. He believed there were invisible patterns, unchanging, eternal, that shaped what we see. You couldn't touch them, but you could recognize them with a different kind of sight, a deeper kind of memory. You've probably had it when you meet someone and feel like you've known them forever. That's not emotion, that's pattern. The old doctors of soul and soil knew this too. Paracelsus, healer of body and spirit, didn't separate medicine from magic. To him, illness wasn't random. It was a misalignment between the visible and the hidden. He listened to plants like they carried codes. He spoke to elements. He believed that to truly heal, you had to understand the energy that shaped the flesh, not just the flesh itself. And he did not guess. He saw. In the mystery schools, they whispered these truths behind veils of myth, not to hide them, but to protect their meaning. Eleusis, Kabbalah, the silent teachings of yogis who passed power through breath and mantra, all different tongues saying the same thing. You are not just a body, you are a pattern in motion. And that pattern can be refined. Ritual wasn't performance, it was architecture. Symbols weren't decoration, they were doors. Even alchemy, so often pictured as men hunched over fire and flask, was never just about gold. The real gold was inner. They worked on metals, yes, but they were also working on themselves, transmuting confusion into clarity, ego into essence, lead into light. They weren't trying to escape the world, they were trying to sanctify it. During the Renaissance, something stirred again. The old teachings resurfaced, hidden in libraries, echoed in paintings, sung in the stars. Marsilio Ficino gave it voice. He believed light wasn't just physical, that it had soul, that buried inside every ray was an intelligence, an architecture of feeling and form. He spoke of stripping matter from light until what was left was a pure body of soul, a glimmer of what would later be called the astral body. Not theory, experience. This thread didn't stop there. In time, new hands picked it up. Sepharial. The ones like him, they were not inventing anything. They were remembering. Not to play fortune teller, but to read the deeper blueprint. Astrology, numerology, symbols, cycles. These were not predictions. They were mirrors, keys to understanding why your life feels the way it does, why certain days bend your spirit, while others lived it. They weren't trying to make you believe. They were trying to help you see, because everything corresponds. That's the secret. That's the thread. What happens in the mind echoes in the body. What happens in the stars echoes in the soul. What you think becomes what you feel, becomes what you attract, becomes the shape of your world. Nothing is isolated. Nothing is without reflection. The old ones didn't need microscopes to see that. They felt it in ceremony, in silence, in symbol. They watched the way a flower unfolded and saw their own hearts mirrored in it. Every myth was a map, every mandala a memory, every shape a sentence in a language older than words. They weren't made to entertain, they were made to remember. And maybe that's why you're drawn to them, why a certain figure, a certain number, a certain sigil catches your breath even when you don't know why. Because some part of you recognizes the architecture beneath the form. It was never about worshipping gods or chasing magic. It was about reading the code, and it's still there, still humming underneath all of this. And yet, for so long, it was hidden. Not because it was false, not because it was weak, but because it was dangerous to the ones who needed the world to stay small. Because this kind of knowing doesn't ask permission. It doesn't beg for approval. It reminds you what you already are, and that unsettles systems built on control. There was a time when to speak of inner light was heresy, when to trust your own knowing was blasphemy. Whole empires were built on the silence of those who remembered too much, so the sacred had to cloak itself. Not in shame, but in survival. The knowledge didn't vanish. It changed shape. It hid in symbols, in songs, in dreams. It became the whisper behind the myth, the second meaning behind the first word. Not erased, just veiled. But the veil wasn't only about oppression. It was also grace, because not all hands are ready to hold fire. Not all eyes can yet bear the brightness of truth. You don't give a child the storm until they've learned to walk steady. So the knowledge waited in gardens, in glyphs, in the spaces between dreams, waiting for the ones who could feel its pull without needing to own it. Like you, you've probably seen it before, the strange pull toward a shape or a number you don't understand but can't look away from. The flower of life, the spiral, the orbit of planets etched on a page. You didn't choose to be drawn to them. You were responding to something older than thought, a kind of gravity of the soul. And the dreams, the ones that weren't just dreams, the ones that felt like doorways. Or maybe it was a memory one you can't place, but that hits you with a kind of ache, not sadness, not longing, just recognition, like some part of you once lived somewhere else, somewhere just beneath the surface of this world. And then there are the moments that make no logical sense, yet feel more true than anything else. A name you think just before someone calls, a bird that lands right when you needed a sign, a pattern repeating until you finally stop and listen. Synchronicities, they call them. But that word isn't enough, because what you're really sensing is the field behind form, the structure underneath the day. That's how the knowledge finds its way back quietly, through resonance, not argument, through feeling, not proof. You were never meant to be convinced, only to remember. Because this isn't new. This isn't a belief system you have to accept. This is something your soul already carries, waiting for your mind to catch up. That's why it stirs you when you hear it. That's why you feel like something important is unfolding, because it is, and it always has been. This is not the beginning of a lesson. It's the return of a voice you thought you'd lost. the one that's been calling you in small, quiet ways for years, maybe lifetimes. Not to follow, but to wake. The symbols never died. They were simply waiting for your eyes to open. And now they are, one by one, because the science of spirit was never erased. It was only forgotten, and now it's being remembered. No longer locked in temples, no longer just spoken in mystery schools or coded into myth. It's here, in the pulse of your body, in the stories you carry, in the stillness between thoughts. If this reality is only half the story, what lives in the other half? It begins as a presence not seen but felt, like the hush that settles before a storm, or the soft weight of twilight as the day slips into something more quiet, more fluid. There is a layer behind the visible, a substance without edges. The old ones called it the astral light. It's not light the way you've learned to think of it, not electricity, not the flicker of a bulb or the blaze of the sun. It's more like a glow beneath things, a kind of breath the world is always exhaling, subtle, luminous, a field of energy that lives between matter and mind. Sepharial spoke of it like a great film, an endless roll of ether that remembers everything, not just what's done, but what's felt, thought, dreamed. It wraps itself around your body, even now. You're moving through it, leaving trails behind you. With every mood you carry, every word you speak, not in metaphor, in imprint, like fingers brushing mist. The Theosophists said it plainly. This field records you, not to judge, but to mirror, to reflect what you are so you can see it. Imagine it as a sea at dusk, still, vast, holding light that doesn't come from the sun, but from inside everything. Every drop aware, every ripple carrying the trace of what touched it. Or picture the sky just after sunset, where the light hasn't vanished, only withdrawn into softer layers. That's what this field is, the middle place, where spirit leans in toward matter, and matter starts to loosen its grip. It has had many names. Luminous trail in the old Christian texts, a light not of this world, but reaching through it. Akasha in the east, the subtle ether, the memory space where karma lives and breathes. To the mystics, it was the breath of God made visible. To the scientists of a different age, it was the ether, the invisible medium that must exist, because how else could light travel through space? They weren't wrong. They just didn't have the language yet to feel what they were trying to name. The astral light isn't passive. It isn't blank. It responds. It changes shape according to what you pour into it. Your thoughts bend it. Your feelings ripple through it like sound through water. If you've ever walked into a room and felt something hanging in the air, something heavy or bright or tense, even though no one said a word, that wasn't your imagination. That was residue in the field. That was the astral light speaking. C.W. Leadbeater spoke of it as a kind of picture gallery in motion. A gallery you don't enter with eyes, but with presence. A place where every gesture lingers, every word leaves an echo, every intention paints a stroke on a canvas that never dries. Annie Besant saw it too, how these impressions move like colors through smoke, forming patterns that only the subtle senses can perceive. And maybe you've already felt them, maybe not with clarity, but with a kind of tilt in the air, a shift in mood that didn't seem to come from inside you, but didn't quite come from outside either. That's the thing about this field. It lives between not quite matter, not quite mind, not separate from you, but not entirely yours either. It's a shared space, a woven net, and it remembers. Even science has brushed against it. in whispers. The notion of biophotons, lights moving from your cells like information, the flickers of electromagnetic fields we barely understand. Theories discarded and then reawakened when something didn't add up. The luminiferous ether, once laughed away, now quietly returning in quantum forms. They're circling it again, just with different instruments. But the old mystics didn't need machines. They had stillness. Because when you stop, when you feel, when you let the breath slow down enough to hear the quiet behind your skin, this light makes itself known, not in blinding revelations, in texture, in resonance, in the way your body suddenly feels like it belongs to something wider than itself. This is not just an idea. It is the medium you are made of. Not metaphorically, truly. You're already touching it. You always have been. That weight you sometimes feel in your chest when the world goes quiet. It isn't always stress. It isn't always sorrow. Sometimes it's turbulence in your field. The invisible layer of you responding to the shape of what surrounds it. It tightens when the current's off. It softens when the current clears. You've walked into rooms and felt it instantly. That silence that feels thick, like something unspoken, is hanging in the air. Or that sudden ease, like stepping into a memory you didn't know you had. No one says a word, but something in your body already knows what's happened there. Who's hurting, who's calm, who's holding something heavy. You pick it up before you understand it. That's not guesswork. That's your field responding to theirs. You felt it in nature too. When the trees quiet your thoughts, when the open sky makes your chest feel like it could break open with relief. It's not the scenery, it's not the oxygen, it's the clarity. The earth's field isn't cluttered, so when you enter it, your own starts to recalibrate. It realigns without effort. That stillness you feel in the forest, that's your own signal coming back into focus. Churches, sacred spaces, even ones that no longer carry belief, only memory. You enter and the air is different, denser maybe, or more fluid. Sometimes it hits the chest like pressure, sometimes like peace, not from the architecture, from the impressions left behind. Reverence thickens a space. It lingers. People prayed there, surrendered there. That doesn't vanish. This is the astral light in motion. This is how it breathes. Every emotion you feel sends a signal. Every thought, if strong enough, becomes a ripple. The field listens. It absorbs. It mirrors. And when enough of the same feeling builds in one place, joy, fear, love, grief, it settles into the air like scent. We're all inside this, not just surrounded by it, of it. You don't just have a physical body, that's the surface. There's a layer just beneath it, the etheric, the one that hums with life force. Then deeper still, the astral, the body of feeling, of dreams, of vision. That's where this light moves through you most vividly. Not just passing by, moving with you, moving as you. The astral body is like a bridge and a mirror. It stirs the astral light when you feel deeply, and it receives what the field has gathered. Impressions, moods, echoes of things long past but not gone. It's like an antenna. It doesn't just send, it tunes. That thought that wasn't yours, that feeling that passed through like weather, sometimes it wasn't yours. It came from the field, and your body, your sensitivity caught it. We don't just shape this field, we live in conversation with it. And most of that conversation is unconscious, but it's happening anyway. You've probably felt it with people. Someone walks into the room and the temperature changes. You feel either drained or lifted without a word being spoken. They didn't mean to do anything, but their field spoke before they did, left a kind of residue, a vibration you couldn't help but notice. The astral light holds that residue. It catches everything. Joy lingers, so does grief, so does clarity, so does confusion. The same way incense can hang in a room long after the fire's out, emotion does too. And when we don't tend to our field, we begin to carry what isn't ours. We begin to feel emotions that didn't start in us. That's how many lose track of themselves. They start echoing the noise around them. But the field isn't only reflective, it's directional. When you feel something with intensity, it moves further. When you hold intention with clarity, it begins to shape things. Thought alone may flicker the surface, but thought fueled by desire, that's what bends the field. That's what leaves footprints. Emotion is the water. Intention is the current. Blavatsky spoke of this in terms of polarity. The astral light isn't only one thing, it has direction. It can spiral upward towards stillness, love, inspiration, or downward toward hunger, ego, obsession. Both exist in you. Both exist in this world. It's not a judgment, it's a fact. And every moment you're contributing to one current or the other. Think of it like smoke. When fear builds up, when pain is left unacknowledged, it thickens the air, makes the signal harder to read. But when presence enters, when someone walks in with clarity, with peace, it's like opening a window. The smoke begins to lift. The room breathes again. You've done this for people. You may not have known you were doing it, but you have. Your state is not private. It ripples. Every heartbeat echoes through this golden sea. Your thoughts leave footprints in light. Even a whisper shapes the field. This isn't a belief. It's a way of being. We've forgotten how to feel, but it's still here, all around you, inside you, and it remembers. So let's stop talking about it. Let's touch it. Sit with me. Let your body find a shape that feels quiet, not perfect, just open. Let your spine lift a little, not forced, just as if the crown of your head is being gently drawn towards some soft light above you. Close your eyes, not to shut the world out, but to let another one rise. Now, take a breath, slow, through the nose. As it enters, imagine it's more than air. Imagine it's gold. Not bright, not blinding. A soft, almost transparent glow, like the last light before dusk. Let that light move into you. As you breathe in, feel it settle just behind your ribs. Not pushing, just arriving. Filling the center of your chest with a warmth that isn't heat, but something like fullness, like presence. Hold it there for just a moment. Let it hum. Now let it out. Exhale gently. And as you do, let that golden light move outward through your heart, down your arms, into your hands. Let it stream through your fingertips like water made of memory, like something that was always there, just waiting for you to name it. Do it again. Breathe in light, comes in with it. Not from outside, but from the everywhere that surrounds you. Let it gather in your chest, soft and whole. Breathe out and let it expand. Now bring your hands near each other, not touching, just an inch apart, maybe TWO. Let them hover there, palms facing each other. Wait, feel. Don't try to make anything happen. Just notice. You might feel warmth between them, or a quiet tingling, like the air between them is no longer empty. Maybe a soft pressure, like magnets pulling gently toward one another, or like something brushing your palms from the inside. That's not imagination, that's the field. that's the light you stirred. And if it feels subtle, that's alright. Subtle doesn't mean weak. Subtle means real. You're learning to hear something most have forgotten how to listen for. Now, while you breathe, let something else enter. A memory. One that holds love, peace. A moment you felt held. It doesn't have to be perfect, just real. Let that feeling move through your breath. Let it color the light. Let it rise in your chest and then exhale it into the space between your hands. What you're doing now is not pretend, it's perception. It's remembering how to feel energy, not with thought, but with attention. The astral light responds to presence, not to belief. You don't have to believe in the ocean to be carried by its tide. You don't have to understand the wind to feel it lift the hair on your skin. This is the same. The astral light is fluid, like water that changes shape with every thought you pour into it. It resonates like a bowl that sings when you strike its edge. Emotion is the strike, the field is the echo, and it's accessible, not through ritual, not through hierarchy, through stillness, through breath, through choosing to feel. You just moved something, not with effort, with breath, with attention wrapped around a thought. That was the astral light obeying you. And if this field listens to feeling, what happens when you learn to direct it? Not just react, not just sense, but command. Because the field is waiting, still listening. And now that you've touched it, what will you say next? Because whatever you say or think or feel deeply enough, this field will shape around it. It listens that closely. It follows the thread wherever you lay it. We've already seen how the astral light responds, but now we begin to see how it obeys. And what it obeys isn't just thought alone, it's the mix, the convergence, the silent engine of three things moving in harmony: thought, will, and desire. Not philosophy, mechanics. You've used this before, you just didn't know you were doing it. Thought is the beginning, it's the design, the seed pressed into the soil of the subtle. You think something genuinely clearly, and that shape enters the field. But a thought by itself just sits there, quiet, potential. It's like a blueprint rolled up on a table, real but not yet living. Now add desire, real desire, not fantasy, not noise, the kind that has heat in it, that ache in the chest when you want something not just with your mind, but with your being. That's fuel, that's fire. It surrounds the thought and gives it urgency, motion, but it's wild if it's alone. Desire, with no direction, just burns. This is where will comes in. Will isn't effort. Will isn't strain. It's not forcing something into existence, it's guiding it. Will is alignment. The sculptor's hand moving steadily, stroke by stroke, turning the idea into form. It's what holds the shape steady, while desire powers it and thought defines it. Sepharial knew this. He didn't say thought was enough. He said thought without will is static, like a seed with no water, no sunlight, no hand to plant it. It just sits in the dark. Will gives it life. Desire gives it hunger. Together, they move mountains. It's like a gardener. You plant the seed that's thought. You feed it sunlight and water that's will, returning every day, no matter how slowly it grows. And you wait, but you wait with love that's desire, keeping the connection warm. Or picture the archer. The thought is the arrow, the intention, the idea, the aim. The will is the hand that holds the bow, steady in the wind. And desire is the pull, the tension in the string, the breath you hold just before release. That's how things are shaped. Not with brute force, with harmony, with focus. Hermeticists knew this long before modern minds dissected cause and effect. They said it plainly: mind is the master. Every form begins with a mental blueprint. The world isn't made from stone and blood and circumstance. It's made from ideas that have been fed, felt, and followed through. And those ideas don't die. When they are charged with enough feeling and shaped by clear will, they become more than concepts. They become forms, real ones. Theosophists called them thought forms, not just fleeting thoughts, but concentrated ones, alive with emotional charge. They linger, they attract, they multiply. You've felt this. You think of someone with emotion, and suddenly they message you. You worry about something, and it appears. You dream of a place, and then you walk into it. That's not coincidence. That's creation. Thoughts held clearly, desire poured into it, will shaping the channel. But here's what's often forgotten: alignment matters. Will doesn't work well in confusion. If your thought says one thing, but your desire is scattered, and your will is half-hearted, the signal breaks apart. Desire without focus creates chaos. Thought without feeling dissolves. Will without clarity becomes control. All three must move together like a chord. It's not about force, it's about tone. You've seen it work on days when you were clear, when you knew what you needed, not from desperation, but from depth, when you wanted it, not because you were empty, but because you were ready. And then you acted, not with panic, not with pressure, but with presence. And somehow things moved. That wasn't luck. That was creation. The soul, your soul, has always had this ability, not because you're special, because you're human. We were built to shape the world with our attention, to bend the invisible with sincerity, to carve the field with our clarity. The universe isn't watching to reward you, it's echoing you. It's not judging, it's responding. So the question isn't, can you create? It's, what are you creating already? Because every desire you carry, every thought you feed, every ounce of will you apply, it's already carving, already forming. And it's not waiting for perfection. It's just waiting for you to see what you've been doing all along. You don't need a chant or a spell or a robe. You don't even need a voice. There is a kind of power that speaks without sound. The kind that doesn't come from volume or argument, but from alignment. You've felt it. Everyone has. Someone walks into a room and the energy changes. The tension lifts or deepens. People adjust their posture. The mood shifts almost invisibly, and no one knows quite why. That is the presence of the silent magician. Not a myth, not a character from a book. A way of being, a shape the soul takes when it remembers itself. Calm, focused, unshaken. Someone who doesn't push the world, but the world subtly bends around them. Not from dominance, from coherence. There was a monk I met once old, quiet, unnoticed at first. He sat in the corner of the room while others argued, flared, fidgeted. Then he stood, just stood, and something in the air softened, as if the noise had embarrassed itself, like the field remembered how to breathe again. No words, just a presence so clear the chaos had nowhere to cling. Or that one teacher you had, the one who didn't shout, who barely needed to speak. They entered the space, and suddenly everyone sat up a little straighter, not from fear, but respect. Their joy had gravity, their stillness had tone. Their intention wasn't louder than yours, it was simply aligned. That's what this current responds to. Not noise, not emotion, alone. Alignment. When thought, desire, and will come into rhythm, The field listens. Other people feel it. Animals sense it. The room changes shape. It's not magic in the way we were taught to think of magic. It's biology, physics, mirror neurons, lighting up, synchronizing to the strongest signal. Emotional resonance, passing through bodies like current in a wire. Even science, in its own language, has begun to admit it. We influence each other without knowing how. We synchronize breath, posture, even heartbeat. We absorb each other. We ripple. It's why tension spreads like smoke and peace like clean air. Think of a family dinner. One person arrives, anxious, ungrounded, and slowly, without intention, everyone else tenses too. Voices rise, small frictions multiply, and no one remembers how it started or why. Now picture the same scene, but someone walks in with stillness, with presence. They don't try to fix anything, they just are. And gradually, people exhale. Laughter returns, the field clears, the space repairs itself. That is command without control. Athletes know it too. The moment before the dive, the throw, the leap, they speak to themselves. Not loudly, but with will. I am ready, I am here, and something inside aligns. Breath slows, muscles respond. The body listens to the mind when the mind is clear. In laboratories, they've tried to capture this with experiments, groups, focusing on random number generators, and the numbers shifting. Micro PK, they called it. The influence of consciousness on small systems, subtle but present, and too consistent to dismiss. Not proof of magic, just evidence that intention, when shared, when focused, moves things. In homes, you've seen it as feng shui, a rearranged room that suddenly feels right, a corner that no longer feels heavy. Intuition reads space, the way fingers read braille. Something invisible is always there, and some part of us remembers how to feel it. This isn't abstract, it's happening around you all the time, because thought, when charged with desire and directed by will, becomes a form, a real one, an impression in the astral light, not just a passing feeling, a shape. It gathers energy, it attracts similar frequencies, it draws others into its orbit. You've sent these out before, and you've walked through ones left behind by others. So be conscious of what you build. A thought is the structure, the skeleton. Desire is the heat that gives it life. And will the invisible hand moves it through space, gives it direction, reach, velocity. But motive decides what it becomes. This is the part that matters most and is spoken of least. Will is not good. It's not bad either. It's just power. It obeys what you aim it toward. So your clarity, your honesty matters. You can use this energy to heal, to manipulate, to reveal, or to hide. And the field doesn't punish. It simply echoes what you put in returns, always. Two people can use the same practice and create entirely different outcomes. One draws light, the other distortion. The difference isn't the technique, it's the intention behind the hand. But you already know this. You've felt how your own focus has changed outcomes. You've watched your attention shape emotion. You've seen how the way you hold yourself changes the way the world holds you back. You've calmed storms, not outside, but inside. And in doing so, the outside softened too. You've pulled experiences towards you with a quiet want you couldn't explain. You've walked into rooms, held still, and watched things move. This is not power given to a chosen few. It's human. It's yours. It always was. And maybe the most important part is this. You don't have to perform anything to use it. You don't need robes or mantras or secret words passed down in dim-lit halls. You've been doing it already. Every time you made a decision with clarity, every time you held on to a vision when doubt pressed in, every time you chose love even when fear would have been easier. This isn't force, it's tuning. Will isn't weightlifting, it's a dial. You don't overpower the world into giving you what you want. You shift your frequency and let the match come find you. The moment you tune in, what you receive begins to change. You've felt this before, even if you didn't name it. That moment when you finally let go of the tight grip of anxiety and peace washed over you like it had been waiting there all along. Or when you stepped away from a problem, stopped overthinking, and within minutes, a quiet answer floated in. No drama, no ritual, just space and presence and trust. Or when you walked into something with the kind of certainty that felt unreasonable, and it just worked. Doors opened, people softened, the outcome bent toward your calm. That's real magic. It's soft, subtle, but steady. And yes, there are days when your will feels thin, when the thoughts spiral, when desire feels too tired to rise, when clarity flickers like a dying candle. That's okay. That's human. But even then, especially then, your smallest action still ripples, even a breath. If it carries kindness, even a word, if it's spoken with care, even a moment of stillness, it travels farther than you think. You don't have to be perfect to create. You just have to be present, and present enough to ask the real questions, not to impress anyone, but to check in with yourself quietly. What are you feeding with your attention? What feeling rides beneath your thoughts when no one's watching? What desire, quiet but persistent, has been asking to be heard, not to control you, but to align you? The field around you is listening, always. And every thought you hold, every feeling you charge, every quiet act of will, it sends a note into that field. It doesn't vanish. It begins building, shaping, gathering weight, gathering direction. This is the magician, not as someone distant or mythic, but as someone awake, to feel a thing clearly, to want it sincerely, to move toward it with a will that doesn't force but trusts. That's all it ever was. You've done this before. You'll do it again. And the field will answer, not because you begged it to, but because you matched its rhythm. If your thoughts will stir ripples within, then what surrounds you, your aura, your atmosphere, your field, is that ripple extended. The air you carry before you speak, the feeling of you that others meet before they ever hear your name. The world is sensing you long before it hears you. So if energy listens, and it does, it's listening now, not for noise, but for the quiet certainty in your chest. The question isn't, can you shape reality? It's, what shape are you giving it now? Because the truth is, you're already giving off something. Everyone is. You've felt it. How some people enter a room and everything lifts. Like someone cracked a window in a heavy space. Others walk in and it's the opposite. You feel your shoulders tense. The air thickens. It's not imagination. It's not mood. It's magnetism. We don't just walk through the world silently. We broadcast constantly. There's something around you. Call it a field, an atmosphere, an aura. Sepharial called it a plastic, sensitized medium of etheric nature. Not poetry, not fantasy. He meant it quite plainly. It's the subtle skin your emotions stretch into, the layer around your body that carries more than just warmth. It holds your thoughts. It reflects your fears, It shimmers with your hope when you feel clear, and dims when you don't. It isn't seen the way we see hands or walls, but it's felt every day. It's the reason a parent's calm presence can quiet a crying child without touching them. It's the charge that lingers in the air after someone storms out of a room. Is why you sometimes sit beside someone on a train and feel safe, while with another your stomach coils for no visible reason. We explain it away, but your body knows. It's reading the signal. Their field is speaking. Ancient art tried to show this truth. They painted halos, not just to say holy, but because people felt something around those who lived with clarity. Saints, mystics, deities, their energy didn't end at the edge of their skin. It radiated. That golden ring was never metaphor. It was memory. Science, in its own way, has begun to whisper the same story. Mirror neurons, they fire not when you act, but when you see someone else act. You smile, I feel it. You tremble, my body registers it before I can reason with it. That's how empathy works. That's why we cry during movies. Why we wince when someone gets hurt, even if we're just watching from the sidelines. Our nervous systems echo each other. We resonate. So when someone near you is anxious, it's not just their problem. You feel it in your gut. When someone sits beside you and breathes slowly, something in your own breath begins to mimic that pace. It happens without permission, without words. That's how close our energy fields actually are. The aura isn't decoration. It's the interface, the place where your inner world meets the outer one. It's not separate from your thoughts. It is your thoughts extended. It's not separate from your feelings. It's how others receive them. You are a transmitter. Your state sends signals, and everyone around you is tuned to some part of that frequency. You know this already. You've caught someone's mood just by standing near them. You've felt dread creep in, not because of the room, but because of who entered it. And you've felt peace return just because someone held your hand and meant it. That's the aura at work. It's not fixed. It breathes with you. Thoughts shape it. Emotion colors it. Health, intention, sleep, breath, memory, all pour into it, and it's changing all the time. You're not locked into one signature. You're not stuck, but you are responsible, because whether you mean to or not, you're always transmitting. So the question becomes, what are you broadcasting? Are your thoughts sending tension before your mouth opens? Is your smile carried by a field that actually feels soft? Or does it vibrate with something you're hiding? Does your silence carry steadiness or static? This isn't a guilt trip. It's a turning point, because once you know that your field is speaking, you can choose what it says. The aura is not a judgment. It's a mirror, and it will reflect back to you the quality of your own alignment. You are already radiant. The only thing left is to decide, what do you want the world to feel when it meets you? Because this isn't new. Long before we had the language of resonance or neurobiology, people already knew something passed between them. They didn't need machines to confirm what their bones already felt. Sepharial called it magnetism, not in metaphor, but in mechanics. He believed what you feel as presence, what you interpret as vibe, is actually a fluidic force, a living field carried through the ether between beings, shaped by the body, ignited by emotion, steered by will. He wasn't alone in this. Franz Mesmer believed every living being was surrounded by this magnetic fluid, an invisible substance that connected body to cosmos, self to other. He said it could be guided, balanced, and even healed through movement of the hands, through breath, through focused intent, what he called passes, what others would later call nonsense. But the results didn't lie. Patients trembled under his touch and came away changed, not cured like in the clinical sense, shifted, lighter, as if something in them had been reminded of order. Emile Dupotet took it further. He said this magnetism could reach across distance, that the influence of mind and presence could pass invisibly through letters, through thoughts, through nothing more than intention. He sent healing from afar. Not all believed him, but those who felt it didn't forget. Even Charles Dickens, sharp of wit, rational of mind, experimented in silence. He would hold sugar in his hand, concentrate, and then give it to the unwell. Magnetized sugar, he called it. It helped some, not all, but enough to make him wonder. So no, this wasn't always fringe. This was once taken seriously, studied, practiced, and more importantly, felt. The great figures in our stories weren't simply admired for what they did. They were remembered for what they radiated. Joan of Arc didn't only speak with courage, she transmitted it. Soldiers stood straighter in her presence. Hearts calmed, spirits steadied. Even those who doubted her left, changed. Jesus, whether you see him as myth or man, was said to calm storms, not just around him, but inside others. People pressed into him, not for sermons, but for the field around his body, for that inexplicable sense that just being near him reconfigured something you didn't know was broken. Their aura wasn't symbolic, it was visceral. It reached others before they spoke. It stayed after they walked away, and it still happens. You've probably met someone who didn't have to raise their voice to fill a room, a therapist whose presence steadied you before the session began, a teacher who carried such quiet intensity. You found yourself listening, even when they were silent. These people don't push, they hold, they align. Their magnetism doesn't come from effort, it comes from coherence. It's no different than a yogi sitting in stillness. The room softens, the body remembers how to breathe. The field around them hums with something you can't name but want to be close to. Siddha Shakti, they call it in some Indian lineages, the radiant transmission of inner stillness into space. No touch required, just presence, just alignment. Even modern research has begun to listen. They've tried measuring the field near meditative minds, changes in electromagnetic readings, fluctuations in ambient charge. Nothing conclusive, but enough to stir questions science used to laugh at. Maybe they'll name it one day, maybe they won't, but you don't need data to know when someone's peace shifts your own. Your aura works like a radio. It's always on, always broadcasting. The frequency, that's your emotional state. The music, your thoughts, your breath, your posture, your tone, or maybe it's perfume. Subtle, invisible, but unmistakable. You walk into a space and leave something behind. People breathe you in, not your words, your wavelength. Joy lingers like citrus, anxiety like smoke, love like something floral and warm, soft but deep. You don't need to speak to make an impression. You already have. Psychologists call it emotional contagion. Put one smiling person in a crowd and watch how shoulders soften, breath evens out, heart rates sink. We don't even notice we're copying, we just do. Warm tone shifts brain chemistry. Gentle eyes settle a racing pulse. Even posture carries current. Slumped shoulders whisper fear. A lifted chest transmits readiness. It's not manipulation, it's biology and something more. Because when the mystics spoke of personal magnetism, they weren't describing charisma in the modern sense. They were naming a force that moved between souls. Joy spreads, peace settles, sincerity disarms. Your aura speaks. Even when your mouth is closed, it's telling the room something. People respond not to what you say, but to how your field feels. Fear pulls people into their own heads. Peace brings them back to their bodies. When you're aligned, when your words, your breath, your intention all hum in the same direction, it feels like charisma, but it's just coherence. It's just inner agreement made visible. And when there's dissonance, people sense that too. If your words say, "I'm fine," but your field says, "I'm unraveling," people don't believe your face. They believe your tone, the tension in your shoulders, the echo behind your eyes. So be mindful, not paranoid. Just aware, because you're always broadcasting. Your signal isn't moral. It's magnetic. And if all of this is already happening without you trying, then imagine what becomes possible when you do. When you choose to feel the room before you speak. When you calm your body before you walk in. When you hold joy, not perform it, and let it shine through your skin. This isn't performance, it's permission to remember that the space around you isn't empty. It's listening, always, and so is everyone inside it. Which means what you bring, how you hold yourself, what you feel before you speak is already shaping the space. Not by force, not by effort, but by presence. You are magnetic, not someday, now. The only question is whether you're shaping that signal or leaving it on autopilot. Magnetism isn't about having power over anyone. It's about coherence. When your inner world isn't pulling in 5 directions, when your thoughts, your breath, your emotion, and your body begin to agree, people feel it, even if they don't know why. You don't need to convince anyone. You just need to become more of yourself, more clearly. You are a walking transmitter. Every breath you take, every story you replay in your mind, every feeling you carry, these aren't just private experiences. They form your field. They become your frequency. And that frequency speaks before you do. If you're the garden, then your aura is the fragrance. You can't fake it. You can't hide it with good intentions. Whatever is blooming inside fear, steadiness, hope, grief, it spills out. That's what people feel. That's what lingers when you leave. This is why someone filled with quiet joy changes the room just by entering, and why someone tense, even if smiling, makes you uneasy without saying a word. Emotional states carry charge. They shape space. Joy creates openness. Fear contracts the field, like pulling the edges of yourself in to survive. Confidence anchors. It tells the people around you there's ground beneath us. Love expands. It's the field saying there's room for you here. Sincerity clears the static. It makes you readable, trustable. It's not perfection, it's realness. And when you shift inside, the outside begins to shift with you. Try it right now. Find a mirror. Don't analyze what you see. Just meet yourself gently. Place your hand on your chest. Feel the weight of it. Feel your breath move beneath it. Don't fix. Don't judge. Just notice. Ask yourself, what am I feeling right now? Don't reach for words. Let the answer rise. Maybe you feel flat. Maybe you feel afraid. Maybe there's a quiet ache you've been ignoring. Now, bring in a memory. One that made your chest feel warm. It doesn't need to be dramatic. A smile from someone who saw you. A day the sun felt just right. Let it rise in your body, not in thought, in feeling, and feel what shifts. Your shoulders may loosen, your jaw may soften, your eyes might water, you might breathe more slowly. You didn't chant, you didn't recite, but your field just changed. This is how you shape it, not with effort, with attention. Here's one more, just breath and presence. Close your eyes. Inhale slowly through the heart, not literally, but as if your breath is moving through your chest. Let that air feel like light, gentle, golden. Fill your ribs with it. Now exhale through your hands. Let the tension leave through your palms. Imagine the space around you warming, softening, like light spreading out in slow ripples. You are reconfiguring the space simply by becoming more fully present in it. This is not imagination, it's alignment. Personal magnetism isn't a gift, it's a side effect. It's what happens when your mind stops battling your body and your heart starts speaking louder than your fear. When your thoughts are honest, when your emotions are allowed, when your breath is slow, others feel it every time. Your energy doesn't lie. And the moment all parts of you begin to speak in the same tone, people lean in, even if they don't know why. You've been broadcasting since you were born, since your first cry, since your first silence. You've always had this field around you. The difference now is you're holding the dial. So the next time someone says, you've got good energy, let that land. Don't deflect it. Don't dismiss it. Because what they're feeling is you, unhidden. It's not luck. It's alignment. It's presence. It's coherence made visible. And if you can feel others, and others can feel you, then ask yourself, what happens when your field doesn't just hold you, but holds others too? What if this magnetism you're cultivating isn't just a presence? What if it's a power to heal? Not from outside, not from something added in, but from the body finding its own rhythm again. From the field remembering what it once knew how to do. Healing isn't a trick. It's not a miracle that descends from above. It's the slow, steady return to harmony, a rebalancing, a quiet homecoming to the intelligence already humming in your bones. Sepharial saw the human being not as a bundle of systems, but as a current alive with energy, wrapped in a field of living light. He spoke of an inner anatomy that couldn't be seen with the eye, but felt its way through the world, a body within the body. And when this energetic structure flowed clearly, healing didn't need to be forced. It unfolded long before we had words like biofield or electromagnetic resonance. This was already being lived. Franz Mesmer called it animal magnetism, a fluid-like force that pulsed through all living things. He believed it could be redirected, balanced, tuned, that this invisible stream, when guided with touch, breath, and focused presence, could move matter, shift mood, and dissolve illness. People laughed, but bodies softened, symptoms eased, and somewhere inside the skepticism, something real stirred. Eastern traditions had always carried this thread. In India, it was prana, the breath behind the breath. Not just oxygen, but the animating wind of life itself, the one that flows through nadis, those subtle channels beneath the skin, and turns the wheel of chakras, the energy centers that shape not only the body, but the self. Theosophists like Besant and Powell echoed this. They wrote of the etheric double, a luminous blueprint that surrounds and interpenetrates the physical body. This double, they said, absorbed prana and circulated it like a soft electrical charge, feeding each cell, restoring what pain had scattered. In moments of trance, this field could move beyond the physical entirely. In healing, it could carry light directly into the places that had gone dim. Blavatsky took it further. She saw the same force at work in seances and visions, in the laying on of hands and the silences between breaths. Energy was energy. Whether it mended a wound, opened a heart, or pulled a spirit into deeper knowing, it came from the same current. Imagine your body as a garden. Not every patch blooms the same way. Some parts are dry, some need rest, some need light. Breath is the wind, and when it moves with intention, it carries new seed to those quiet places. This is not metaphor. This is the actual work. Every breath is a chance to stir the light inside you. You don't have to see it to feel it. That golden current that moves when you're still, when you're honest, when your focus finally drops beneath the noise. That is what restores you. Jung had a name for it too. He called it the psychic envelope, the shell of presence that surrounds the body and responds to the mind's weather. When it's clear, you feel safe. When it's torn or dull, you feel scattered, vulnerable, easily tired. And so often, illness follows not from fate, but from frequency, from a field that forgot its center. Healing begins there, not in a pill, not in a diagnosis, in the reweaving of the field. You already have this power. You don't need titles. You don't need tools. You need stillness. You need breath. You need to remember how to feel what you've been trained to ignore. Because beneath your skin, beneath your stories, there's a current waiting to be moved. Not by willpower, but by presence. Not by effort, but by return. Return to the breath. Return to the body. Return to the light that has been flowing through you from the beginning. Because once that current moves clearly through you, it doesn't stop at your skin. It spills into the room, into the air, into whoever is near enough to feel it. You've seen it before. A person walks into the room, says nothing, and suddenly the tension drains. You breathe easier without knowing why. Your shoulders relax. That's not charisma. That's coherence. That's a field doing what fields do. Ripple outward. Sepharial called this natural healing magnetism, a radiant effect that comes not from effort, but from being attuned. When the field inside you is clear, others begin to remember their own. You don't have to try. You don't have to push. Just like one lit candle in the dark makes the whole room feel different, your steadiness becomes a kind of medicine. It doesn't burn out. It multiplies. A nurse who truly listens, not just hears, but feels you can steady your pulse before you even realize you were scared. A friend who sits beside you in silence, hand on your back, says more than advice ever could. A stranger at a cafe who smiles with real presence shifts the weather in your chest for the rest of the day. We call it kindness, we call it warmth, but at its root, it's transmission. It's energy, realigning energy. And when someone enters a space tense, panicked, spiraling, you feel that too. Their storm finds a foothold in your system. Your breathing shallows, your focus scatters. Not because you're weak, but because our fields speak before our mouths ever do. Modern studies in pranic healing observe something ancient healers already knew. It's not the technique, it's the state. Energy flows strongest from someone calm, open, and centered. Someone anxious or angry can drain rather than restore. Their field pulls instead of gives. Their signal distorts what it touches. Lynn McTaggart called it intention as medicine. She wrote that healing doesn't come from titles or rituals. It comes from a focused, loving presence, from clarity, from the emotional charge behind your attention. It's not what you know, it's how you are. You've felt it. When someone's attention is clean, not judging, not fixing, just with you, your own system begins to regulate. That's healing, not a cure, not an intervention, but a shift. Sepharial said healing flowed most naturally through those who were aligned, whose energy moved like clear water. They didn't send light, they became it. Just like a lighthouse doesn't chase ships, it stands still and the waves do the rest. Healing is light, passed from vessel to vessel, gently, without effort, like pouring tea from one cup into another. Warmth moves where it's invited. In theosophical work, they taught that emotions shape color in the aura. Anger flashes red, fear curls dark and gray. Love, real, grounded love, radiates soft rose or gold, not metaphorically, but literally, to those who can see. Your emotions ripple through your nervous system. They change the current, they tint the field, and that tint reaches others before you say a word. Ever felt the warmth of someone's hand on your shoulder? Not because they pressed hard, but because their presence wrapped around you like a blanket. That's not heat, that's field. That's coherence. That's years of grief or wisdom or gentleness radiating through the palm. That's auric contact. You don't need force, you need tuning. Our systems are like tuning forks. When one vibrates steadily, the others near it begin to hum in sympathy. It's physics, it's resonance, and your nervous system responds the same way. When your inner field is steady, heart soft, breath slow, focus clear, others begin to align with it. Not because you're doing anything, because you're being something. This isn't about dominance. It's not about fixing anyone. Healing presence isn't loud. It's not commanding. It's felt in the stillness, like a tone beneath the noise. Science is catching up. Heart-brain coherence research shows that calm, regulated people influence the physiology of those near them. Breathing synchronizes, muscles release, blood pressure drops, not because of what's said, because of the state someone holds. Empathy studies show we mirror more than emotion. We mirror regulation. If someone's nervous system is settled, yours will likely begin to follow. If theirs is chaotic, yours will brace. So the greatest thing you can do for another person in pain, don't fix, don't force. Become still, become coherent. Let your energy do what it already knows how to do. Invite. Healing isn't something you do. It's something you radiate. And what you radiate comes from the clarity of your own inner world. Not your personality, not your knowledge, but your current, your honesty, your alignment. Even if you never say a word, even if you don't know where to start, you've already done it 1,000 times. When you walked in and someone breathed easier, when you held someone crying and your silence gave them strength, when your steadiness helped them come back to themselves, that was healing. You didn't perform it, you became it. And now, quietly, gently, you can become it for yourself. Close your eyes, not to shut out the world, but to remember the one inside. Sit or lie down, however your body wants to be held. No performance, no ritual, just breath, just being. Inhale, slow, like you're welcoming light home. See it soft, golden, warm, rising through the base of your spine, spilling up the back, circling the heart. Exhale, and let that light spread outward, washing through the ribs, the hands, the legs, the face, as if every breath is wiping a window clean. There's no right way. Just let yourself feel it. Let the light move where it wants to, through joints that ache, muscles that hold too much, memories you didn't know were still sitting in the lungs. Trust the current. Let it find what needs clearing. You're not fixing, you're listening. You're saying with each breath, I am here, I am safe, I am light. This isn't make-believe. The nervous system listens, the cells respond, the subtle body, what ancient traditions called Your pranamaya kosha, your energetic sheath, reads intention like weather reads wind. It moves with it, gently, powerfully, quietly. If your hand wants to move, let it. Place it on your chest, your belly, your forehead, anywhere it feels called. Imagine warmth flowing from your palm into the skin beneath it, into the tissues, the blood, the marrow. Not heat, but memory. Like the hand is saying, you didn't break. I'm still with you. Hum, if you want. A note, a vibration. It doesn't have to sound good. It just has to feel true. You're waking something. You're stirring the embers. If it helps, recall a moment of love, a real one. A look from a grandparent, the way sunlight once poured through your window, a dog resting its head on your lap. Let that feeling soak the breath. Let it fill the field. That memory has charge. Emotion is frequency. And now it's moving through your system like medicine. You don't need certification. You don't need tools. You don't need words in another language. You just need to be still enough to feel the current again. The same one you once poured into others without realizing. The same one they felt when you stood beside them and their pain softened and they said, I don't know why, but I feel better now. That wasn't luck. That was the field. That was your aura remembering its coherence. The breath is your carrier wave. The aura is your interface. And the mind, quiet, steady, clear, is the one conducting the flow. Healing doesn't happen through effort. It happens through resonance, through the agreement between your intention and your awareness, through the willingness to sit with yourself like you would with someone you love. This isn't a new power. It's an old one, older than words, older than names for light. You've already used it. You've comforted yourself in the dark. You've laid a hand on your heart and known without being taught how to come back. Now you're just doing it consciously for yourself, for the others, for the whole field we live inside of. Because if this healing happens through energy and through pattern, then where else do those patterns live? What else already carries the shape of your story? Your body, your birth date, your palms. Maybe they're not just surfaces. Maybe they're maps. Maybe they've been waiting to be read. Sepharial didn't speak of symbols as if they were inventions. He spoke of them the way you'd speak of stars, ancient, bright, and inevitable. To him, a glyph wasn't just a mark. It was a key, a sound frozen into form, a shape that bent the field around it like gravity bends time. Symbols are commands in disguise, he wrote. And once you hear that sentence, you can't unhear it. It follows you. Every crosswalk sign, every planetary emblem, every shape drawn by a child suddenly. You feel it before you analyze it. That's the point. The field doesn't need translation. It responds the way skin responds to weather, instantly, instinctively. In Hermetic thought, the world isn't stitched together by matter, but by pattern. The phrase, as above, so below, wasn't a metaphor. It was a manual. Just like veins mirror rivers and lungs mimic tree branches, the forms we see down here are echoes, traces. There is no such thing as coincidence in a universe made of code. The human body, the Hermeticists taught, is the small version of the universe, the microcosm, and the cosmos, a living, breathing macro body. You don't stand apart from it. You pulse within it. Every shape you carry, your spine, your eyes, your fingerprints, is a sentence spoken in that greater grammar you're written in. And in that space between body and cosmos, between breath and meaning, there lives the astral light, the medium of pattern, the mirror that remembers. This is where symbols live, not as flat drawings, but as impressions in a sensitive, electric sea. This is where a shape becomes an instruction. A cross, a circle, a spiral. These are not arbitrary. They are fixed structures in that unseen lattice. When you place a pentagram on the ground, you're not performing theater. You're aligning geometry with energy. The shape does the work. The field recognizes it, just like it recognizes a heartbeat or a tear. Steiner believed that meditating on a true symbol, not just looking, but entering it, could open doors in consciousness, not ideas, vision. The pentagram, he said, wasn't just a picture of balance. It is balance. It calls balance forth. It moves the ether, just as a tuning fork moves air, or a name stirs memory. And this isn't abstract. You already feel it. Think about your name, not the sound of it, the shape of it. Each letter, curved or straight, pointed or soft. Do you notice how some names feel safe while others feel sharp? Why certain numbers make you smile and others make you flinch? You've been responding to energetic signatures your whole life. Not because you're superstitious, because you're alive. Sepharial saw the world like this, coded, not chaotic. He didn't worship symbols. He listened to them. He watched how they moved through time, through skin, through dreams. He believed your birth date wasn't random, but a cipher. He believed your palm wasn't just flesh, but a map. And if that's true, if every symbol is a wave frozen in form, then what are the shapes you carry? The patterns written in your walk, your voice, your eyes. Maybe they aren't traits. Maybe they're glyphs drawn by something older than language, older than breath. Rudolf Steiner once wrote that every number has a spiritual tone, that numbers are not for counting, they are for remembering. To meditate on the number 5 is not to think of 5 apples. It's to enter the current of union, marriage, and movement. 5 is not a digit. It is an energy, a river. And if 5 lives like that, so does the star, so does the square, so does your signature, your dream symbols, the way you draw hearts in the margins of your notebook when you're half awake and not thinking. This is not mysticism. This is memory. The soul remembers in pattern. The field responds to form and symbols. True symbols are what happen when soul and field speak the same language at once. Maybe that's why ancient alphabets were sacred, why Hebrew was said to build worlds, why Sanskrit was chanted, not spoken. Because when the right shape meets the right sound, something opens, something aligns. You've seen it in a mandala, in a child's drawing that made you cry without knowing why, in a birth chart that told you the one thing no one else knew how to say. In a way, a tarot card can feel like a mirror, not a mystery. Symbols don't predict, they remind. They show you the architecture beneath emotion, the blueprint beneath circumstance. They do not give you a future. They show you the shape of your own energy and the invitation to shape it differently. Your hands are not just hands. They are 5 pointed stars radiating from a center. Your birth date is not a timestamp. It's a signature, a sound your soul made on its way in. And when you look at them, not as tools, but as truths, you don't read them. You remember them, and then you look at your hand. Not like a tool, not like a thing that types or touches, but like a page, folded once, twice, and pressed with something older than language. The lines didn't appear with age. They arrived with you. They were waiting. Sepharial believed the palm was a star chart, written on skin. He wasn't guessing. He he was listening. The lifeline, everyone looks for it first. They ask, how long, how safe, how strong? But it isn't a stopwatch. It's a river, and rivers don't answer with years. They answer with movement, vitality, force. Yours might curve wide, flowing like a calm stream, or it might surge deep and sudden, like a mountain spring breaking through stone. Either way, it's yours. Not fixed, just mapped. A pattern of how your energy wants to run. The heart line doesn't lie. It's the current under the current. The one that tells you how you open, how you close, how you trust, and when you break, you felt it. The tightening, the trembling, the warmth that spreads when something touches the center. You don't need to be told where love lives. Your hand already remembers. And then the headline, straight or sloped, clear or webbed. This one tells the story of how you move through your mind, not how smart you are, how you think, how you wonder, how you build worlds from nothing, and sometimes tear them down just to see what still stands. It's not judgment, it's rhythm. And the mounts, they're not bumps, they're planets. Tiny spheres of influence beneath your skin. Venus, Mars, Saturn, Jupiter, all rising and falling beneath the fingers, like constellations blooming under flesh. Each one tells you where you shine, where you push, where you listen, not destiny frequency. The Hermeticists didn't call this superstition. They called it anatomy, celestial anatomy. The hand as cosmos in miniature. The palm as the curved vault of the heavens, drawn not in stars, but in skin. And the deeper you look, the more it speaks. Numbers do this too. Pythagoras didn't just count, he heard. Every number had a tone, a feeling, a presence. One wasn't just beginning, it was the silence before sound. TWO wasn't just a pair, it was the tension between yes and no. 3 was motion, spark, the leap that makes anything possible. 5, the one you feel in your bones, is the marriage of form and movement. 2 plus 3, yin meets yang. Life ignites. TH isn't just the end, it's the whole, the circle after the spiral. 1 and 0, seed and soil. Something is planted, something is complete. Your birth date is not just digits, it's a frequency. When reduced, when drawn down to a single number or layered set, it opens a door. Some days carry the energy of vision, others of conflict or grace or building. These aren't predictions, they're rhythms, and the numbers in your name, like tuning forks in the air around you, they ring, they resonate, they shape what follows you, what finds you, what echoes in a room after you've left. Sepharial called names talismans. He meant it. Each letter carries tone, vibration, even its shape matters. A name with curves sings differently than one with edges. Your name doesn't just represent you, it charges you like a spell spoken every time someone says it aloud. And letters go deeper than sound. The Kabbalists said each Hebrew letter was a beam of creation, that the world wasn't built from clay or stone, but from symbols, from breath shapes, from frequencies encoded in the Sefer Yetzirah, where 22 characters danced into being and took on gravity, each one a world, each one a wave. That's the truth of symbols, not tools, triggers. When you trace one, when you draw it, or whisper it, or even dream it, it awakens, not out there, in you, in your field. The field that knows how to answer a shape with a shift, a name with a feeling, a number with a surge. You're not making it happen. You're remembering what already does. So when you look at your palm, when you write your birth date, when you whisper your name, just to feel its weight, understand that you're not looking for answers. You're lighting a signal fire, and something in you has already seen it burning before. Because you are not a mistake. You are not a coincidence wrapped in skin. You are a deliberate shape, drawn from light, pressed into matter, humming with meaning, a living glyph, a soul in motion through a pattern too wide to hold in your hands but close enough to feel. Every time you pause, every time you breathe, look at your body, not with the eyes of critique, with the eyes of memory. 5 fingers, not for grasping, but for echoing. Earth, water, fire, air, spirit, each one a point of the pentagram, each one a tether between form and the unseen. The body isn't just flesh, it's a geometry of the eternal. And the chakras, they're not just colors or wheels, they're glyphs. Planetary notes vibrating through your spine like a column of bells. Root to crown like Saturn to sun, a scale. You climb in silence. Your breath is the hand that plays it. Your face, sacred geometry carved in expression. The arch of your brow, like wings in stillness. Your lips, holding seals you didn't know you knew how to break. Every glance you give is a sigil sent out. Every smile, a soft invocation. You think people read your words? They don't. They read your pattern. And overhead, the sky, the long mandala of stars, still whispering the map. You stepped into the day you arrived. Astrology is not chains, it's choreography, it's music. It's the echo of the tide that pulled you from spirit into form. Sepharial never said the chart dictated your steps. He said it offered you a score, how you dance it that's yours. You are not trapped in a symbol. You are the symbol. You're the living tarot. The high priestess, listening to silence. The fool, stepping off the edge with a heart full of sky. You are the magician, not just holding the wand, but being the wand, lit from within. So when you study your palm, your name, your numbers, your chart, don't seek your future. Seek your memory. The soul already knows. The field already holds. The shapes we study don't predict, they remind. They call the current back toward the course it meant to follow before all the forgetting began. Because just as the breath moves prana through the body, a symbol moves awareness through the field. And where your awareness goes, your energy follows, like wind drawn to fire. Every glyph you meditate on isn't passive, it's magnetic. It draws your scattered attention back to its source. It pulls you into pattern. It realigns the unseen. The field responds to form. Every pattern is a spell. Every spell is a map. And every map is a mirror, showing you not where you're going, but where you already are. You are shaped by meaning. You are carried by it. You've always felt that, even if no one ever told you the words. So what happens when you follow it? What happens when you stop reading symbols like riddles and start remembering them like home? You've seen the signs carved into your skin and chart, but have you ever followed your energy beyond your body? The dream that felt too real, the hallway you never visited, yet somehow knew. The moment before sleep, when you felt yourself tipping backward into nowhere, and it wasn't a fall, it was a leaving. Those weren't dreams, they were glimpses. You've already left your body, not in fantasy, not in theory, but in the quiet, secret rhythm of sleep, where the body rests, but the soul stirs. Sepharial called it the astral body, Kamarupa, in the language of theosophy, a luminous twin made not of flesh, but of memory and desire. It detaches, not with drama, but with softness. It floats because it is light. It returns because it is bound, not by chains, but by a cord a silver tether seen in visions across cultures and ages. It stretches from the heart of the physical body to the heart of the subtle one. Some call it myth, but you've felt it. You felt it the moment your body jerked awake from a half dream of falling. You felt it in that strange click between realms, when you weren't quite asleep, but the world was already fading behind you. The snap back that medical science calls a hypnic jerk, mystics have long called it what it is: re-entry. Because you went somewhere, and that somewhere is real. Sepharial never believed the astral world was imaginary. He wrote of it like a cartographer, mapping landscapes of light. He said the astral body holds not only emotion, but motion. It is the part of you that can move without muscles, see without eyes, and feel truth without language. It isn't the etheric body that's closer to flesh, tied up in breath and blood and magnetism. The astral body is what slips when the world goes quiet. It dreams for you. It remembers in symbols. It meets what your waking mind forgets. You've met it before. You've lived inside it. The strange city you dreamed twice but can't name. The familiar face of someone who doesn't exist here. The way you cried in sleep and woke up wet-cheeked. Those weren't fictions. They were returns. And it's not just you. Mystics across history have whispered the same truth in different tongues. Swedenborg wandered nightly through realms of angels. Sufi mystics speak of their night travels, following light through the layered worlds. St. Paul told of being caught up to a place beyond speech, whether in the body or out. I know not. The Brahmins knew the threshold well. They called it Prayatashara, the place between breath and dream. Even if you've never studied these things, something in you has always known them, because the knowing lives deeper than belief. There is a place behind your eyes that already remembers flying. It's not science fiction. It's not escapism. It's what your soul has always done. Because the physical body isn't the whole story. It's just the doorway. And no matter how far you go, the cord holds, the body waits. Sleep paralysis, or the moment before return. Shadowy dreams, or the blur of energetic places your language doesn't reach. Sepharial said these weren't conditions, they were invitations. And deep down, part of you knew that presence you felt by your bed wasn't just your imagination. It was your own light returning, your own echo. The astral isn't fantasy. It's family. It's home. It's the in-between you've already walked. And maybe now you're ready to walk it awake. It's not walking really. It's more like gliding without distance, moving without moving. The moment your awareness slips free, not by force, but by softness, you remember. You were never locked inside your body. You were only resting there. The astral body is the light ship of your soul. It doesn't carry blood, but memory. It holds your longings, your fears, your joys, all imprinted in its subtle skin. And when you fall asleep, or slip into a deep meditation, or feel something so strongly that it lifts you outside yourself, it rises quietly, like mist from a lake. It doesn't need doors, it doesn't need eyes. In the astral, seeing is feeling, and feeling is knowing. You don't observe the world, you merge with it. The room you enter is your own thought shaped into landscape. A garden becomes a memory. A sound becomes a being. Everything answers to vibration. This isn't invention. It's how the soul travels. Arthur Powell said that every night, while your body lies still, your astral body moves. It explores. It studies. It heals. It remembers the way back to realms your waking self has forgotten. In sleep, we are not idle. We are voyaging, and when death comes, the voyage simply doesn't turn back. That's why so many dreams feel like places, not metaphors, not hallucinations, places, cities you've never visited but somehow belong to, people you don't know but instantly love, landscapes that shimmer with a kind of truth you can't explain in daylight. You wake and part of you aches, not because it wasn't real, but because it was. The silver cord stays with you until you no longer need the anchor. It holds you gently. It ensures your return, not as a leash, but as a promise. And maybe you've noticed déjà vu that sinks into your stomach like a memory you didn't make, or waking from a dream in tears, certain you were just with someone who's gone. That flash of recognition when you see a place you've never been. These aren't tricks, they're fragments. Lucid dreams, most of the time, they're not dreams at all. They're echoes of your astral return, especially the ones that feel too crisp, too textured, too real. The ones where you knew you were dreaming, but you weren't just aware, you were present, entire. Some people train for years to do this on purpose. They meditate, breathe slowly, align their energy, and step softly through the veil. But others just remember. It happens like a whisper. No ceremony, just a moment of stillness, so complete it opens. There's no need to master it, only to notice it. The way your heart feels when you think of a place you've never seen. The way your breath stills before sleep. The way silence deepens right before the slip. Because you don't need eyes to see, not there. You need feeling. Intention is your compass. Emotion is your engine. Thought is your shape. The astral doesn't need you to believe in it, only to remember how to feel from the center. And if you've danced in dreams, if you've floated above yourself, if you've kissed someone who's long gone and woken with their scent still on your skin, then you already know you've been home before. You just forgot the way. But the soul doesn't forget, and it never needs a map. But sometimes it helps to trace the trail again. Tonight, don't chase it. Just lie still. Let the body sink into the bed like soft earth. Feel the breath settle like wind slowing over water. There's a sound beneath the silence. It's always been there. Not quite a voice, not quite a vibration, just the hum behind everything. That's where the door is. Close your eyes, not like sleep, like a turning inward. Let the world blur. Take a breath. Imagine a thread of gold rising from the center of your chest, not pulling, not pushing, just lifting. It doesn't leave you behind. It becomes you. With each breath, let yourself grow softer around the edges, lighter, as if your body is the memory and your awareness is the now, as if you're floating just above, just enough to notice the shift. There's no flash, no sound, just that stillness that feels like something watching, kind, ancient, waiting. That's you, that's the soul, stepping back into its own house. When you wake, don't move. Stay with the imprint. 30 seconds. That's all it takes. Trace the shape of what you saw, even if it makes no sense. A color, a smell, a phrase. Write it down. Tomorrow, you'll forget, but the page won't. And one day, the landscape will repeat. The street will return. The same dream cat will blink at you twice, and you'll remember this wasn't a dream, it was travel. Some nights you'll fall too fast. You'll jerk back before you go. That's all right. That's the tether, the silver cord that's always with you. You're not breaking anything. You're being reminded. The body isn't abandoned, it's resting. You'll return. You always do. Fear is part of the threshold. Even the monks felt it. The ones who studied Tibetan dream yoga, the Sufis who wandered through fire, the mystics who left their bodies in stone cathedrals and returned hours later, weeping. None of them were special. They were still, they were open, and they paid attention. So can you. And what do you find when you go? Sometimes nothing, just space. Sometimes you see someone you've lost, and they speak without words, and something in your chest finally exhales. Sometimes you learn something your mind couldn't have known, a detail, a symbol, a whisper of truth so strange and sharp, it stays with you for weeks. It doesn't matter if you can explain it, it matters that you felt it. That's the gift, that's the proof. You don't have to train like a mystic. You just need to remember. The soul is already fluent. The traveler has always been awake beneath the dreamer. You're not becoming, you're returning. And if it's hard, if it doesn't happen, don't force it. Don't expect it. Just offer yourself like an empty cup. Stay honest, stay quiet, stay kind. The wings of your soul are not fantasy. They are folded gently behind your heartbeat, waiting for breath and silence to open them. And when they do, you'll realize none of this was far. None of this was ever out there. The real world is wide and strange and stitched with stars. And your body was only the doorway. You don't need credentials. You don't need proof. You need to trust the part of you that already knows how to leave and how to return. Because this isn't about escape. It's about remembering how large you've always been. And when you return, the room won't have changed, but you will. Because the more light you carry back, the more this world begins to feel like the dream. And the more the dream begins to feel like home. Just remember, what you meet in the unseen might be watching you too. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. That's the first truth, not a warning, a whisper, a hand placed gently on yours before you reach for the match. Because you're not just playing with energy now, you're shaping it, stirring it, sending it. And energy remembers. Sepharial didn't treat the unseen like a playground. He treated it like a cathedral. The air was alive in his writing, humming with the weight of spiritual law. Not law as punishment, but law as rhythm, as consequence. What you send returns. What you touch touches you. What you command listens and answers. In the Hermetic traditions, this is the root of all magic. Every act is karmic. Not only the big ones, not only the spells and the sigils, but the thought behind the words, the feeling beneath the wish. H.P. Blavatsky wrote that karma is not some ledger of sinsits, the echo of your own vibration, circling back to meet you. The same way a shout returns across a canyon, only slower, quieter, deeper. It doesn't forget. The threefold law: send love, it multiplies. Send fear, it multiplies. Even your half-spoken desires plant seeds. Even your secret rage finds a garden, and what you nurture in silence will one day knock on your door in form. That's not a threat. That's just how it works. Karma is not a punishment system. It's spiritual physics. A mirror. You don't escape it by being good. You harmonize with it by being true. If your intention is clean, the energy carries clean. But if you reach with a trembling hand, afraid, greedy, desperate, it bends, distorts, comes back to you twisted like light through dirty glass. That's why purity matters. Not because anyone's grading you, but because your field becomes the tool. And if your aura is a vessel, what kind of water are you pouring from it? Sepharial understood this. He didn't write for the casual. His warnings weren't fear-based. They were reverent. You don't hand a child a flamethrower you hand them a candle, and you teach them how to keep the wind out of their breath. Every whispered thought is a prayer or a curse. Every spell is an echo that knows your name. There's no such thing as neutral magic, only magic with forgotten roots. The occult path isn't about perfection. It's about alignment. It's about knowing the shape of your own heart before trying to shape the world. It's why some of the strongest rituals begin in silence, in stillness, not in Latin, but in listening, because the energy listens back. And once you know that, once you feel it, you move differently, you speak differently, you begin to see the unseen, not as a force to bend, but a current to honor. This isn't about obeying rules. It's about becoming worthy of the fire you found, because real power doesn't roar. It glows, quiet, steady, alive. The true initiate learns to carry flame without being burned. That's the work, not the spectacle, not the command, but the tending. Fire isn't seized, it's kept, and only those who learn to kneel before it, who learn to breathe with it, speak to it, honor it, can hold it without turning to ash. Before any working, before any word, the question must rise first. Is this aligned with love, with truth, with clarity? If the answer trembles, the act should wait, because magic done from confusion births more confusion. Magic done from ego bends light the wrong way. You can't outsmart the mirror. You are the mirror. As within, so without. That line isn't metaphor, it's the backbone. What's inside you will shape the outside spell. If there's grief in your lungs, it will come through. If there's resentment in your mouth, it will color every chant. That's why cleansing rituals were never just about the space, they were about the self. You cannot light a clean fire in a room full of smoke, and the world doesn't need more smoke. There's a reason the ancient schools guarded their secrets, not from pride, not from power, but from love. Sepharial knew it, Blavatsky warned it, Bailey whispered it between lines, because giving fire to someone still full of storm, that isn't wisdom, that's arson. Hidden knowledge was never meant to be hoarded. It was meant to be held until the hand could steady. That's all. It was never about making anyone feel small. It was about keeping sacred things from being shattered in haste. Power is holy, not flashy. Alice Bailey wrote, "The light of the soul dissipates glamour." That sentence stayed with me for years because it meant the real light, the soul's light, doesn't seduce. It strips illusion. It calms chaos. It doesn't make you look powerful. It makes you see. You know who's real because they don't need to show it. The real magician doesn't perform. They steady the room. Their presence does more than their voice. Their stillness becomes the healing. They don't chase titles. They don't need to be known because they know, and that knowing is enough. Sepharial's occultist wasn't a performer. He was the quiet priest, the streetwalker who left blessings where he went, but never his name. The sage who watched you cry and said nothing, but held the energy still enough for you to remember who you were. That's power. It's not for glory. It's for service. It's not something you flash. It's something you carry. And if you know how to work with light, then yes, you have a responsibility to cast no shadow. That's the vow. No one speaks out loud, but it's the one that matters most. So now the question is yours. You've always had this in you, the pulse, the magnet, the heat in your palms when you think of someone with love, the way people soften in your presence without knowing why, the words that come to you before someone even speaks their pain. You've been carrying this power your whole life, quietly, secretly, maybe not even realizing what it was. What will you do with it now? The path of the occult doesn't end in certainty. It ends in quiet, in a kind of silence that asks you to listen more than it asks you to speak. It doesn't hand you a crown. It places a question in your hands like flame and asks if you'll hold it gently. The question isn't, can you shape energy? You already do. Every time you walk into a room and change the feeling. Every time someone breathes easier just because you sat beside them. Every time you think of someone with love and they text you without knowing why. You don't need spells. Your thoughts are spells. Your focus is fire. Your daily attention, your wordless care. This is the real ritual. The astral light is always listening, not judging, just reflecting. You think the world is silent, but it's humming with reply. You're not being watched from above. You're being heard from within. So feel it now, just for a moment. Close your eyes. Feel the weight of your own body. Feel the breath, that soft wind inside your ribs. Feel your chest rise with it. Warm, full, alive. That's it. That's the center of all of this. That warmth, that rhythm, that flame. It was never hidden. You were never waiting for permission. You were never missing a step or late to the path. You are the path. And if you've ever doubted it, let this be the moment you stop. Let this be the breath where you finally remember. You don't need a temple. You are the temple. Now, light the fire